Hello, everybody. It is John Pollock, along with Wai Ting, coming off of tonight's Elimination Chamber show from Chicago. Hello, Wai. How are you?
Doing all right, John. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. And yes, 4 matches, 3 hours. Fine. I'll take it.
You just have to know when to start the show.
There is a whole algorithm that goes into the pacing of watching these shows. Do you know, I'm not kidding. I finished a book while I was watching Elimination Chamber tonight. I had like 50 pages left of a book, and I finished it no problem during this. I didn't read an entire book.
Yeah,
Though I would think there's a
and
decent
finish.
chance. No, I didn't read an entire book. But anyway, there's a lot of downtime between these.
And I really don't experience it ever. I start these.
I started late, and I still... Do you know how long these entrances were for these chamber matches? I timed them.
Oh, yeah. I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
it's
it makes for these would be a great Sunday morning watch because you could get through the show in an hour 10, easy.
Yeah. Maybe like for some people, I think like for people that might only tune in to these shows a few times of the year, I think having the fanfare of the entrances is actually probably important to them. But for you and I that watch basically every show, it's really not that special.
Is Elimination Chamber the show that you say, I haven't watched wrestling in a year? This is the show for me. This is the one I'm sitting down to watch.
No, sure, yeah, I could say that. Like, I mean, it's a connecting point from Rumble to WrestleMania.
That it is, yes. Well, we have 7 weeks of connecting points as well from now until WrestleMania, so they have a bit of a breather on these weekend shows.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
But we're going to get into everything that took place from tonight at the United Center, Chicago, Illinois. They announced on the broadcast 19,346. The last WrestleTix number was 18,208, probably a very sizable gate for this show. The secondary market was going for, I think the cheapest ticket you could get was like $250. Maybe that came down at the end, but maybe not, to be honest. This is they touted this fact. This was the first televised event WWE has run at the United Center since SummerSlam of 1994. Lo and behold, they did run a house show here in March of 2018, just randomly.
Interesting.
That's the only other show that I could find that they have run since SummerSlam 1994. So if you went the last time at the United Center, you got John Cena versus Roman Reigns.
Okay, interesting.
Some other 2018 fodder. The pre-show, we had some sit-down interviews with AJ Lee, Finn Balor, and then it's right into the broadcast. They also, they threw Joe Tessitore, Wade Barrett, and Big E out on the desk outside in the winter in Chicago. These guys looked like they were freezing. They're all bundled up, and they're out there. They had to have been out there for the first hour of the 2-hour kickoff. Rosenberg's out there. It's like you just see their breath. It's like, holy Christ. We couldn't put this desk inside.
Great question for the production. I'm sure they would have had as well.
It looks great on TV. I mean, I was warm, but I felt for these three. So we have Michael Cole, Wade Barrett on commentary, and the opening video features CM Punk out and about in Chicago, talking about embracing pressure. Pressure feels like home. And so it's time to embrace the pressure. We go to our first of 2 chamber matches. Rhea Ripley, Asuka, Raquel Rodriguez, Alexa Bliss, Kiana James, and Tiffany Stratton. While Jade Cargill, maybe she got on the secondary market right at the last minute and scored a ticket because she was in a private box to take in this match. Perhaps she was a little too confused from the segment on SmackDown. Didn't know how to watch this on ESPN. Decided, you know what? I'm just going to buy a ticket. That sounds a lot easier than God. Yes, none of them were represented on the show. I'm sure they were all having a watch party together on their apps.
Oh, I'm sure they were in the Garza's hotel room.
Everyone's in one room and they all have a phone out to watch.
Sure, yeah.
So we got Tiffany Stratton and Kiana James starting off the match, and so it's 5 minutes intervals here, and of course each entrance the person has to come out. They have to do their pose. They have to walk to the ring, and then they've got to walk to each individual pod to look at each person, and then it just multiplies. And then by the sixth person, they've got to do the walk to all 4 pods and look at everyone just to get one last look. Like, we're doing this? Yes, we are doing this. So they start off. Stratton did this handspring back elbow, just crashing into the pod, missing Kiana. I thought overall, maybe you thought differently. I thought Kiana James like stood out fairly well in this match. Like she is like someone that you could certainly see they're putting a lot more focus on her. I did not feel she was out of place in this match.
I agree. I thought she was booked to stand out, and I thought she, like she looked very competent and I think very capable. And I don't think that has ever been the concern for me. For me, it's more so I don't think the character has been very well developed, if at all. And now I think her in-ring work is actually outpacing the growth of her character. So I hope to see them match that.
What if Julia becomes her head of PR?
They could swap
maybe
roles.
they just role reverse. Perhaps that's where they go with this. Asuka is third. And this crowd loved Asuka. She blasts Kiana and Stratton's heads into the pods, and everyone's just cheering for Asuka. She was one of the more over baby faces in this match. Not Rhea level, but they were really into her here against Stratton and Kiana. Alexa Bliss is fourth, and then Stratton tries the PME and is stopped when Bliss knocks her into a tree of woe, and Kiana breaks up a cover, as the announcers call it, inexperience. Why would you be breaking up the cover if you're Kiana James? So they just rolled with it. Rhea Ripley is fifth. Obviously, she gets a big reaction and just starts powering everyone, sends Stratton into Asuka with a razor's edge. Bliss is avoiding riptides and climbs onto the pod and hits a twisted Bliss onto 3 of the 4 women. And as Alexa goes for a Sister Abigail to Kiana, it is stopped by Asuka's mist. And this allows Kiana to roll up Alexa. So Alexa is the first elimination.
Yeah, possibly leading to Charlotte and Alexa versus Asuka and Kairi, or possibly James and Julia versus Charlotte and Alexa as well, coming off of this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel at this point your Alexa Charlotte combo is probably just going to stay together through WrestleMania at this point. I think those backstage segments, you just can't give up on those so quickly. I mean, whether it be ice cream or but I feel at this point, I feel like the women's tag, we probably get some kind of multi-woman team. And I don't know, it's not the most impressive role when you're talking about Charlotte Flair for WrestleMania, but I mean, this past year, this is kind of the level that I wouldn't say she's really, you would have her poised for like a bigger spot at WrestleMania this year.
No, and I would say too late to build anything up, even if you are teasing potential breakups between the two, which I just don't see it.
I don't feel it either. No.
Yeah.
Raquel Rodriguez is the 6th and final entrant, and she plays the monster here. She powerbombs Rhea into the fence, then one into the ring. She puts Kiana through the pod with a running power slam. That got a big reaction, and then struggles to get Asuka up for a Tejana bomb on top of Kiana and double pins both to eliminate Kiana and Asuka together. Very impressive here from Raquel. So it's down to 3. Rhea's hung upside down on the fence and gets down, hits a cannonball off the pod to Raquel, which is followed by the prettiest moonsault ever. So Stratton eliminates Raquel, and Michael Cole is in the middle of his like dramatic call and just like clockwork inserts a DoorDash promo code. I mean, if you're going to do like an ad read, like at least wait till the end of the first match, right? Like, why would you just insert it in out of nowhere?
That's what I would expect. Yeah, if somebody were to insert an ad in the middle of some sort of broadcast. Yeah,
there's these natural chapter breaks.
Yeah.
So after the DoorDash promo, Stratton hits an Alabama slam, misses the swanton, and in all of this, Stratton came up with a bloody nose. We had several people who got busted open here. I mean, there was Stratton, Punk. She lands the swanton, gets a 2 count, and then goes for the prettiest moonsault ever, and it gets stopped, and she is shoved into the pod and hit with the riptide. Rhea wins 23 minutes and 43 seconds, and they made it clear. Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley for WrestleMania.
Yeah, all in all, I felt it was a pretty decent match, but it was far from, I think, a standout chamber, in at this point a pretty large catalog of these sort of matches. But overall, I felt like they utilized the space pretty well to develop 2 underdeveloped talents in Kiana James and Raquel. I thought James, again, looked very capable in the ring, and just by being in this match, she seemed to be the project of the group to just at least let people know she is at this level, and at least in ring, she looked very capable. Again, I really wish the character work was, able to match it. But I also didn't expect them to put Raquel over so strong with that double pin. So it suggests to me like they might have a big role for her leading into WrestleMania, if not coming out of it, possibly.
I could see coming
Liv.
out of it. Like maybe that's the long-term play, is that Liv gets the title and it's a future babyface turn for Raquel. I don't know what she does for Mania. She's sort of out of the picture, and maybe she's just going to be sort of, the Batista to Liv's Triple H for this WrestleMania, and then after Mania, that's a program you could get to down the road.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
I thought the women worked really hard. To be quite honest, I thought there was a lot more intensity in this match than the men's match. I felt like the men's match to me, this one had just a lot more just kind of, it just felt like there was a whole lot more urgency. It was several of the women who were having, this was a big showcase for them. And for the men's match, like really it was Javon Evans that was in that role, and everyone else, it was sort of, it's like, here's Randy's 15th chamber match. So I'm with you. It's not like this was this blow away great match, but it was, for an elimination chamber match, I think it served its purpose, and the audience certainly was into Rhea Ripley. It was a predictable outcome, but that's not a bad thing. I think the challenge now is, like, this is 1 year. I would say if Rhea Ripley had the dance partner, this is a year you could look at the women having one of the main events for Mania. I just don't see Jade as that person. And like Rhea is certainly hot enough that you could put her in a main event slot this year, but I do not see that happening with Jade. And everyone's focus is going to be on that match itself and trying to build these two up as these two kind of the two big indestructible forces. And they have 7 weeks to build it.
Yeah, I don't see it with Rhea and Jade, just because I think Jade is still very questionable in a lengthier match, certainly like at the top of the card. Vaquer versus Liv, I have a lot more confidence about, but I also don't
close a show.
No, in ring.
Oh, in ring,
in delivering a strong match. But
yes.
I don't think the star power is there in particular with Vaquer just yet. She it will get there, but maybe not just yet. So I don't see either women's match being able to headline this year. But still, like this could be Liv versus Vaquer could be a stand-up match. Jade versus Rhea could, have us
this
all
one is going to be very well prepared. Like it's going to be a very well laid out match. So it's we will see how it turns out.
On Tiffany Stratton, this year she's playing more of a supporting role than previous years, but I think like she continues to show in this match how dependable and how consistent she is as a performer, despite her relative lack of experience. Like we forget, like she's only been on this main roster like really a little over a year, and she's already able to like really hold down these sort of high pressure situations, I think, incredibly well. So, I think this run has shown that there are she's not really being taken to as a baby face. I remember that match on SmackDown where Chelsea Green got a bigger baby face reaction than Tiffany Stratton did. So in ring, I think she, again, is very dependable, but the character certainly needs a lot of work. And, could be a heel run, or maybe just, continuing this way until the fans more organically react to her as a baby face.
It's still kind of like a heel character. It's just she's playing a baby face now. Mm-hmm. So we all know now Rhea Ripley's destination is WrestleMania in Las Vegas, but not everyone wants to disclose their location so easily. And for those looking for a little more privacy, we have the answer for you.
Support for this podcast comes from NordVPN. As wrestling companies rake in record profits, it seems many fans are growing frustrated with rising ticket prices and the need to juggle multiple streaming services just to follow weekly shows and premium live events. Luckily for Canadians, I'm based in a spot where one streaming service covers almost everything under one fee. But what if I'm off traveling in the US for a few weeks? So here's what I do. I launched NordVPN right on my phone, laptop, or Apple TV, changed my settings to point back to Canada, sign into my service, and I'm streaming everything like I do back home. It literally takes seconds. No cables or complicated setup required. On top of that, Nord encrypts your whole connection so your IP and location info stays hidden, especially if you're skeptical about a sketchy Wi-Fi network at your hotel or vacation rental. So head over to nordvpn.com/postwrestling to get our exclusive 2-year plan deal with a massive discount and 4 bonus months thrown in. No risk thanks to their 30-day money-back guarantee. That's nordvpn.com/postwrestling. Stay safe, save money, and enjoy all the benefits of a secure internet with Nord.
And in his
Any
current
questions,
state,
John?
this is the only time you get to travel these days. Way it's when you log on to NordVPN and you get your pick of the entire globe of where you get to go. Tonight I'm going to watch Dynamite. I'm off to Finland.
Now I have the ability to. There's really nothing holding me back at this point. Yeah.
NordVPN.com/postwrestling. See, Michael, it's very easy to do. Becky Lynch against AJ Lee followed that for the Intercontinental Championship. So AJ Lee is now a christened Chicago native by way of New Jersey. She married into the city, and so she is just as big of a she's Chicago to the core.
If you happen to marry maybe perhaps the wrestler most identifiable with the city, and you also now call that place your residence, I mean, I think she's
allowed. Yes. Yeah. Well, there's a huge reaction for AJ. She comes out second, and Becky was working in like this jacket. It was like quite the outfit she had. It's like she was wearing like some
as we come to expect from Becky Lynch.
Yeah, I guess so. Lee works early on with this bridging hammerlock and some very like over the top exaggerated selling by Becky. She's kind of just flying all over the place for AJ, and then boots her down, taking over. And I mean, this crowd, they were very behind AJ and they were booing down Becky. AJ must have hit like 100 tornado DDTs in this match. She really has that move down very solid. Becky is getting frustrated and removes the turnbuckle pad and manages a superplex. And referee Jessica Carr, one of the first times I've seen a referee realizing, oh my God, the turnbuckle pad. We've got to correct this right now. So she goes to the floor, grabs the pad, and then she's turns her back to them. Becky runs AJ into her. Jessica Carr survives that. Counts 2, and then Becky throws a Mirko Cro Cop kick, and this sent Carr hospital, not cemetery, and this was a hell of a kick because Carr was down for like 5 minutes from this kick, but survived the splash from behind.
She really, I think, squeezed out all the life she had just to get up from that initial bump, only to be completely killed by that kick.
Wow. She managed it. The Black Widow is applied. Becky taps. But there's no Jessica Carr. And AJ's, God damn it, Jessica. So Lee goes to check on her and gets attacked from behind, and Becky brings a chair in. But don't worry, AJ's got the tornado DDT, and comes down. Her knee was supposed to land on the chair. It rattled. They sell it. Becky goes for a DDT onto the chair and a manhandle slam, and Jessica counts 1, 2, and AJ gets her shoulder up. This place exploded. I think this whole crowd thought this match was over, and they just had this crowd from this point through the end of the match because Carr prevents Becky from ramming AJ into the still exposed turnbuckle. So Becky misses AJ, runs into the corner, and then rebounds off the exposed buckle and is put in the Black Widow, submitting at 15-27 as AJ Lee wins the Intercontinental title.
I enjoyed this match more than I thought I would. I mean, in particular, in fact, the first 3 quarters that were mainly centered on the technical wrestling, which I thought AJ looked really great in doing, especially like that electric chair reversal into the headlock takeover. That was one of the most impressive spots of the entire match. It looked so incredibly clean. So I definitely had my doubts coming into this about AJ's level because from what we've seen of her, I mean, she was either very well protected in multi-man matches or it just didn't really look all that impressive. But here, I definitely think she showed a different level, and especially with her technical wrestling, I think is really, you can argue is like she might even look like in the upper echelon in that sort of department. Maybe not now that I think about like the how stacked this roster is currently, but certainly not out of her depth in 2026 here.
I'd certainly say this was the best she looked of the 3 matches we've seen her in since the comeback. I think Becky worked really, really well here with AJ, but for AJ to go 15 and a half minutes here, it's I think overall it was I agree with you. If you were to tell me these two were going to go 15 and a half minutes, I would say that would be pretty ambitious for AJ's first singles match back, but they had a great crowd. Finish worked tremendously well from that near fall right through the finish where the crowd was just electric. They got the title change. And I think there's a good chance that they run this back at WrestleMania, and maybe whether it's just straight up rematch for the title or some kind of stipulation attached, I think these two will be tied together through Mania.
I would think a stipulation, just to raise the stakes a little.
A Black Widow match, okay, with a spider.
But a hair versus hair match.
Oh, that might be sure. Why not? Maybe Becky's like that coward, Marina Shafir. I'll show her.
Yeah. Loser has to wear a jacket in the next wrestling match.
Yeah.
No?
Do you imagine AJ sticking around post WrestleMania?
I see her sticking to this sort of like maybe part-time-ish schedule. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, if they do rematch, I expect the belt to go back to Becky.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I don't know what her ambitions are, but she's looking good enough to do something consistently. So I would.
You could argue that outside of Rhea, she's probably the most over female on this roster.
Yeah, and let's not discount the sort of reactions to this build so far. This has been a build into this match in particular that I don't think has been met with universal acclaim. They had some very shaky weeks of promos with each other, and I think there's still a big issue with tone that I has resulted in more sort of comical, bad in a comedy, in fact, rather than I think the serious thing that you want. So we'll see.
You have the chance to course correct. Now that Becky's lost the title, you do have the excuse to take that, because I think that's been nothing's universal with fan reaction, but it's been the majority has reacted that way to the promos on TV. And then you had a match tonight that really was totally divorced from that kind of tone or build up. This was Becky wrestling a serious match, and I think that is more so. I want to see changes to especially Becky, but AJ too. If we're going another 6-7 weeks with this,
Becky will probably do a lot of complaining about Jessica Carr coming off of this, as she usually does. But that might result in some sort of no DQ stipulation coming off of it.
Aldis and Pierce are with the Crate, and this was just they have no shame. They're teasing this is the Crate reveal, and it's just a ploy for a goddamn Papa John's ad.
At this point, this kind of has always been R-Truth's role, but it feels like it's especially the case now where having gone through what you might consider a failed rebrand as Ron Killings, which they'll kind of reframe as something that the audience rejected, rather than them really not giving the character an actual try at all. Truth now is just fully into just being the mascot of this company, doing this sort of comedic shtick.
Yeah,
bad comedy.
Yeah, that 3 weeks, it never happened, basically. Yeah. We're just back to where he was pre-release.
But this shit is
pre-contract expiration, as we should be.
But this, coupled with the ESPN thing from last night, God. They're just you can have fun with these. You could be creative in doing this sort of product placement. These just have absolutely zero effort, I feel, put into them at all.
Next was CM Punk and Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight Championship. And Punk is in the back, and all of a sudden, the Alan Parsons Project begins. And I was like, okay, this is fantastic. And he comes out to Sirius, and they've even got the voiceover guy from the Bulls, Ray Clay. And he gets to the gorilla position, and then they switch to living color. This was awesome. This might have been the best entrance this year. I thought this was so excellent.
Pretty cool. Really, really cool. Mm-hmm.
So he's out. He's also in Blackhawks inspired gear. And we get the graphic. First WWE match in Chicago since June of 2013. I'm like, correct. I'm sure it was really hard for them to put WWE and qualify it there. But yes, this is his first WWE match in Chicago since June of 2013. But then below it, first career match in the United Center. So obviously he did do one match in AEW in the United Center for the first Collision. But
with rated FTR.
That is right. Yes. So they went super long that night. I remember too, because that was Punk's return.
Sorry, not rated FTR. What was it? CMFTR was there?
Oh, that's right. CMFTR. Yes. Yeah. Look at this. This kicked off the Collision era.
Oh, the days of the CM Punk led Collision.
God. I mean, at some point, it might have been enough time that we should go back and relive like the 2 months, the collision era of CM Punk, because it was like every single week a new story coming out, culminating in Tony Khan in this very arena of the United Center having to come out right after firing CM Punk and basically telling the Chicago crowd what he did. And that's the last time AEW has run the United Center.
Wow.
Anyway. Bringing back historical memories here, but a great entrance here for Punk. Balor, they just start this off. They're just doing like technical wrestling together. Balor traps him in an abdominal stretch, and Punk is continually trying for a sharpshooter, which would have quite the payoff later in the match. He's also trying for GTSs, which Balor has an answer for, whether it's blocking it or turning it into a small package. Punk busted out a suicide dive here, which... man, given the injury rate in WWE, that's probably an apropos term here. We can't be taking these risks here with could you imagine? So Balor goes for the coup de grace. It misses. So Punk does the step up knee, and this is where he's been busted from the mouth. It might have been a tooth even.
I think he got like up kicked from a prior sharpshooter attempt. That caused it.
Balor was like just drilling him with these up kicks, so that would make sense. Balor then tries the top rope elbow is hit by Punk, and then Balor comes back, hits the 1916 coup de grace, lands, and Punk kicks out. Then Punk manages to recover, hits the GTS. Balor rolls to the floor, and Punk goes after him, gets hit with a sling blade, and then a shotgun drop kick puts Punk through the timekeeper's area, and into the ring they go. Balor avoids another GTS, and the coup de grace is attempted, but Punk puts his foot up, and as Balor comes down, he takes the foot and turns it into a sharpshooter.
This was fucking awesome. Like this was one of the best sharpshooter entries I've ever seen. And
this was Zack Sabre Brooks here. I mean,
this was beautiful.
I mean, this was quite the idea just to come up with this idea as a setup maneuver. So he gets the sharpshooter. Quite honestly, this would have been a great finish if they went right to this. But instead, Balor makes it to the rope, and then Punk just grabs him by the wrist and just drills him in the head with stomps, lifts him, clean GTS, and wins in 20 minutes and 21 seconds. I really, really liked this match. To the point, I thought this was the match of the show. And what I really enjoyed about it was there were no smoke and mirrors. They didn't feel the need, like we didn't need to use weapons. We didn't need run-ins. We just had a 20-minute wrestling match with a guy that, with all due respect, no one had any belief of what the outcome was going to be. And they still came out. They had granted, it was Punk in Chicago, so you were working with that ace up your sleeve. But I just thought this was like a really, really great professional wrestling match. Your champion gets a big win going into a bigger match for WrestleMania. And I thought these guys were great. I definitely enjoyed this more than their TV match. I thought they did a great job. And Balor, it was an unenviable position to be in, but the guy did not dog it at all. He tried to cut the best promos he could in the lead up for this. And I thought, overall, I think he comes out of this as a babyface, really.
I mean, the turn seemed very solidified by the end of it when they did their handshake, right? So
yeah, Balor confronts Punk, offered his hand, and Punk accepted. So they shook hands at the end, and that should lead to whatever the issues within the Judgment Day following this.
Yeah, one maybe key moment was Balor seemingly looking towards the entrance ramp, and the announcers were kind of filling those gaps, saying, "Is Balor looking for the Judgment Day here?" So we don't exactly know what he was thinking about, if he was expecting the Judgment Day to come out or not. But that was about as much reference as you had to Dom and JD, which we'll see the fallout of on Monday. The match itself, I thought, was a very strong match, and I thought early portion highlighted well by the rib injury or the rib work, which I thought Punk sold really well, and then I think my memory of the second half of the match will be highlighted by that bit of lucky blood that they got from that upkick from Balor, and I thought it provided some great visuals with Punk with a mouthful of blood as he was delivering that savage elbow, and they just had a really good clean match, which I think, I at times I wondered if this crowd had an appetite for this sort of wrestling. And also in the AJ match where I don't know if they necessarily reacted so well until the shenanigans came. This match didn't really have any shenanigans at all. But
None.
I mean, it was CM Punk, and they certainly responded well by the end. I thought overall a really great match, especially for two guys who might not be in their physical primes anymore, like in their mid-40s. Speaking of somebody entering their mid-40s, it's sort of only
You're in your
natural.
prime way.
I mean, if I probably look like Finn Balor
Doing that hosting work with B-roll at the same time. I mean, you're.
Thank you, John. But I would suggest in pro wrestling, even if you're not in your physical prime, you could still have the best matches of your career, which I wonder if these two wrestling in their 20s would have had a match as good as this. Because in wrestling, as you get older, you get wiser and you know how to, play with the crowd that much more. Maybe your technique might even be better. So I thought these two delivered, I think, a very satisfying and very smart match for people in their mid to late 40s.
I just like that they didn't rely on any, like, even doing like the big pattern near falls that so many WWE audience are conditioned. Like, they're not going to get into things until we just start hitting big finishers and everyone's kicking out. And they would have had the leeway to do it if they wanted to in this match and didn't need to. And I thought that it made the match better for my money. AJ comes out with her IC title, so Punk and AJ celebrate in the ring together as champions. And we have Michael Chandler. No announcement. Yeah. No Conor McGregor fight to announce. He's still campaigning for it. Giannis was there from the Milwaukee Bucks. Cole was basically begging him to go to the Knicks. And folks, did the sun rise this morning? Because Lil Yachty was at a WWE show. Okay, This guy he's green shirt guy. This guy just goes to every WWE show.
Yeah, the new generation of like Brock Lesnar guys, green shirt guys is
Lil Yachty. Yeah. And
the Burt Kreischer.
Burt Kreischer. Yeah. So Aldis and Pierce are out, and they have brought the box, and they pry it open, and there's a coffin that opens, and after a procession of dancers, it is the debut of Danhausen. Hopefully they can get this song out. It will do very well. The crowd reacted. They reacted. It was very catchy song.
Did they react?
When he first walked out, they did. And then they walked out, and he passes over the cup of teeth to Michael Cole. And then he enters the ring, and the lights go out. And the crowd, it felt like this crowd was believing, okay, now a bigger surprise is coming. And then when the lights came up, and he was just gone, Michael Cole summarized it very well. Wade, what the hell was that?
Well, even before the lights went out, I thought you could hear the boos pretty audibly. Like, I felt this was a crowd that wasn't just maybe confused by the segment, which is maybe what the announcers were sort of like steering us towards. This was outright rejection of this. And we talked about this. If it was anybody under the level of surprise of a Chris Jericho, which is, I think at this point, what, like, a lot of people probably got their hopes up for, this was going to fail. And I like Danhausen a lot, but even I was surprised that they would go to these lengths to promote a guy who really was not a star in AEW. I don't even think he's that as well known as a powerhouse Hobbs, And so Chicago, you would expect maybe to have like one of the better sort of like chances of reacting.
Yeah,
to
I
this
did
guy's
too.
A star.
It's not like this got some. This didn't even get like. Again, we walked out like I thought it was like a decent reaction he got, but this was not like the big surprise pop. I mean, this was very similar to Powerhouse Hobbs last month.
Oh, this is worse than that. Like they didn't reject Hobbs; they might have been apathetic. This was like outright rejection, like with via boos, and I think they overestimated perhaps like Danhausen's popularity. And it's a disservice to him because if promoted perhaps in a more sort of like subtle way than what this was, weeks and weeks of build, getting people's expectations up. I feel like he might have had a better chance of being well ingrained, and I think there's still a good chance that he could still be successful. They just have to probably adjust.
Are you optimistic that you could see him having like finding a comedic role that works in this company? Because
yeah, I do. Because I think he's got a very attractive shtick. It just has to be introduced to an audience. And I think he'll get over it. But this was too much, too big of an entrance for him.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm sure there's going to be a novelty to him, at least immediately. Like if they had done, like to me, the Wyatt family is not a direct comparison to this character, but it's in the same realm. And if that had been a big success, I'd be more open-minded to what they have in store for Danhausen. But there's a part of me that thinks in 6 months, this guy's going to be telling me how to watch these events on my phone.
That is the destiny. Yeah. For a guy like him, I would even say, like, I don't know, like you're sort of giving heavy guys like even a Joe Hendry at one point, which maybe they're trying to change with this NXT run. But yeah, guys like that will ultimately be your next R-Truths, I feel.
Yeah, we'll see. It's night one. We'll see if they have some grand plan for him. But it was not a home run out of the gate. No. And they set themselves up. Like we said that the very first night. Like when you have a surprise, whatever, you have to be able to meet or exceed the expectations. And when you do a surprise, you're giving your audience open season to start imagining what it could be. And Jericho's going to be the standard for a lot of people here in Chicago and at home. And that was their choice to do this as a surprise. This was not a surprise level character to serve that treatment. So the main event is the men's chamber match with Trick Williams, who was super over here to no one's surprise in Chicago. LA Knight, Logan Paul, Randy Orton, Javon Evans, and Cody Rhodes after Jey Uso was taken out on Friday night. We got 17 minutes of entrances, so almost the length of this match. And we're starting off with Cody and Javon Evans, just a standard 5 minutes between these two. I don't know about you, like certainly like the run-ins got their reactions, the ending certainly did, but I never felt like this crowd was all that hot for a good portion of this match. And you had stars in this match, but it just did not feel to me as like I just felt the crowd was like more engaged in the opener than it was this one until you got to just doing all your angles in the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I also don't know like what I was necessarily expecting, like, you know, like maybe a bigger reaction for Trick perhaps, but like they weren't reacting poorly whatsoever.
He got a decent reaction coming out. There were a chance of fuck you, Logan, while he's still in the pod. Trick was third. I was surprised they put him in so early in this. He goes after Javon Evans and they play off the history about them. And Javon tries an OG cutter, which Trick catches and hits a double bookend. Fourth is Logan Paul, and all three go after Logan. He manages the buckshot lariat, and then he hits that on Cody. Fifth is LA Knight, who goes after Logan.
Just on the Logan Paul front, I mean, it was painfully obvious that Logan was really the only heel in this match because Trick wasn't getting that reaction. And so, again, like once, you know, when they had Jay in this match, I don't think this match would have failed, but the chances of a Jey Uso or a Cody Rhodes getting booed, I think would have greatly increased.
Oh, and I think you understand like the whole angle. Like obviously that angle was meant for Bronson Reed, and they had to put Logan in that place. So I don't think Jay was ever going to be in this match.
No, but even for the protection, because at that point you're asking the crowd to pick their own heel, and I feel like Cody could have caught a lot of that. Yeah.
It was possible. It's not like Cody had this big babyface reaction to him in this match. At least I didn't feel it. So Logan's in. He would be a big part of this match, followed by LA Knight. Logan's got this huge gash on his back from one of the spots. Logan, Evans, and Knight all end up on top of the pod, and they throw Logan basically into a high cross onto Cody and Trick. And then Knight has to take such care of Javon Evans to hit this BFT on top of the pod where they basically have nowhere. They got to go straight down. Evans would take this. Evans was in worse shape than Jessica Carr because he was down for a long time on the top of this pod. Randy is sixth. He came out. This guy, I'm pretty sure, had his own area code in Illinois. Maybe it was like the red trunks that he brought out for this. Those were the I'm going over trunks. This guy is insanely big. He is just insanely big.
This is not 2009 Randy Orton.
Holy Christ.
Yeah, double that.
Yeah. So Knight stops an RKO and hits a DDT. All six are down. Well, all five are down because Evans is still on the pod and gets up and he splashes Trick. But after that, immediately gets hit with the pulverizer, and Javon Evans is eliminated. I thought this was very underwhelming for Javon Evans. His big, obviously he was going to get eliminated in this, but I thought he'll at least get like a really memorable spot. And it's like they gave him a frog splash off the pod. It just kind of felt like a participation trophy that he had, and he like no tease of anything for him coming out of this. He was just a participant in this match. I was kind of disappointed with his handling.
At the very least, I think I would have expected an OG cutter off the top of the pod, as Michael Cole kind of directed.
Michael Cole like set the standard. He was like, he set the bar. It was like, you've got to meet this. He didn't even come close to doing that.
Yeah, if not that exact spot, then something maybe just as spectacular that we'd be talking about. And I felt like this was certainly a wasted opportunity for Javon Evans. That pulverizer looked really brutal on Javon at the very
Dude, that
end.
pulverizer always looks brutal.
Yeah, and like this was one of those where, like, I mean, ref was like holding his fist up. I don't exactly know what that means, but I do wonder, like, you know, how whether or not a guy who is relatively inexperienced like a Logan Paul should have a move that, I mean, is very much like could be a sheer drop head drop if executed like it was tonight.
Yeah, it's a dangerous move to be doing that. Even when he's like, I don't think we appreciate it enough because like Hangman does it so seamlessly. Like that buckshot lariat, it's like I've watched enough people that are like great athletes that really struggle with that move and the planting of your knee too as well. I don't know. It's well, we continue here. Knight sets up. Man, Randy took this bump. And he just had to like turn himself like 90 degrees to get in position for LA Knight. It was the most robotic move of Randy off his back. So Knight does his deal where he's got to hop to the top rope for his elbow drop, and the guy slips. And it's clearly now just the edict that any botches are going to be part of the story, and we just immediately call them out because they just called it. It's a crucial.
It's always been like that though.
There was a long time.
There's no way you could have protected this. Like, what was he doing? He like jumped off to deliver an elbow.
Yeah, there was no saving this one because he basically had to just hop down and continue. And the crowd was on him.
He started to do the thing where like, oh, my back, like pretending to like he was hurt from it.
Yeah. Wait till he gets the talk from Uncle Paul.
Wait till this gets profiled on Unreal. All right.
So there's a BFT delivered to Trick, and then a low blow by Logan to LA Knight pins LA Knight while hooking the tights. Another very unspectacular elimination here for
well,
LA
on
Knight.
Top of the botch, I mean, it was not a good night for LA Knight.
No, not at all. Not at all. The Trick shot misses Logan, so Trick gets dropped into a crossroads, and then Logan throws Cody into the corner. He steals the pin. So now Logan has 3 eliminations, including Trick Williams. So Trick is gone. I thought this crowd was going to get a lot more upset about Trick being eliminated, but they really didn't. They were just sort of... I don't know. Maybe they were realizing like it's like $150 for parking at the United Center, and they're probably still realizing that reality.
I also think people realize Trick Williams isn't going to the main event of WrestleMania, and so you're really only left with like 1 to 2 options to really get upset about.
So with the cage opened, Trick is being tended to, and the masked man starts scaling the cage, but security is on top of it. They grab this guy. Pierce unmasks him. It's another no-name dude. Maybe this is a cousin of Don Furio, maybe another Black and Brave student. So he's removed. And then as all security has taken this imposter to the back, the door is still open for Trick when another masked man enters the ring, strikes Logan, stomps him. Cody pins Logan, and we get the reveal of Seth Rollins, who in fact did lie on ESPN. And Paul Heyman's reaction here, he is just frightened, and Seth gives a look to Cody before he takes off and leaves. So Seth is back.
This is now being billed as the surprise of the century, at least on this evening. So, yeah, you know, great reaction actually for this reveal. And I like when you had suggested it could just be Seth at the end of all of this, I felt like it would have been very anticlimactic because it was so obvious. But I think what they did last night was like with the decoy guy was good. I think what they did tonight with the decoy guy, with the other decoy guy was good. And it resulted in at least a little bit of mystery leading to what I think for many people might have been the more obvious, you know, choice here in Rollins. So really strong reaction here. And, you know, this was like essentially his babyface turn where he looks at Cody, acknowledges him, and kind of confirms his status as a babyface.
Yeah. Yep. It probably gets, you know, a promo on Raw and something to follow this up. This might have been the biggest pop of the match, including the finish. Like it was a very big reveal pop for the reveal. So
what's the Mania match?
What would you make the Mania match?
Well, who's left? I mean, it's Logan
Well,
and Rollins. Do you do that match again?
All I know is I do not know if Seth and Logan is the match. It might be something else.
Who?
Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot of people
Theory.
out there. I don't see it being Austin Theory.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we will see where this one goes, but it's if it ends up being Seth and Logan, like, is that of interest? Like, obviously, it's not going to be the ideal scenario, because the ideal scenario was, of course, him and Braun Breaker, and then Bronson Reed, and now
It would have to be different enough from, like, you know, the prior match where, you know, again, maybe a stipulation would make it interesting. Maybe the addition of another person would make it a bit more interesting. But yeah, our Breaker is definitely not going to be ready, right?
My understanding is no, it won't be Braun Breaker. So the door is
Danhausen.
I mean, it just writes itself, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So the door is still open. Drew shows up and nails Cody with the belt from behind. Cody avoids a Claymore and starts fighting back. And then Randy, watching all this, comes over, RKO to Drew. There's a crossroads to Drew. And after Cody hits the crossroads, boom, he's right in position for an RKO. Randy takes it and pins Cody in 24 minutes and 45 seconds. And the post-match, you see Randy, there's a bit of him that has that feels some remorse for Cody, but he stops himself from consoling Randy. And this all comes full circle, because Randy, where's 2009 Randy? I can't have you showing any mercy, any sincerity. And Randy, I think the Aleister Black effect has officially taken over Randall.
Yes, it has. Well, I would hope there's a bit more of a heelish edge to him than just this. You know, he took advantage, but he wasn't necessarily.
I do feel this is the story they are telling. Like, as much as we laugh about the Aleister Black thing, I think ultimately that is your destination for Randy, unless the audience is just so emphatic for Randy against Cody. But
they will be.
There's a very likely chance that happens. Randy has been like a giant babyface since he's come back from his back injury. And I don't think it's going to be as easy as they might think to turn this guy. Like, I feel that is the direction they want to go with him, but I do feel it being a struggle. So the post show, they announced Drew will defend the title against Cody this Friday on SmackDown. And then the winner faces Randy Orton.
On what grounds?
Because of Drew getting involved. I didn't watch the post show, but that was the announcement by Nick Aldis. So I guess because Drew got involved, Nick is now putting that match at SmackDown on Friday.
Okay.
So I think, it is not going to be Drew and Randy at WrestleMania. Are you pretty safe in assuming that in a one-on-one match?
Yeah.
I think your two options are obviously the three-way, or you do the title change this Friday, and it's Cody and Randy. And what is the bigger match for you?
Cody
three-way or the one-on-one, Cody and Randy?
I personally don't like three-ways unless they are like organically sort of promoted, where each person has a reason to hate the other, which Drew and Orton don't really have that connection. My preference would be Cody and Orton straight up.
I think so too. And I could see a title change on.
Sucks for Drew.
It really sucks for Drew, because I think he's been great in this role. I think he's done everything great. I think his work has been great. His promos have been great. But I think they do have a leniency towards just the one-on-one big singles match, because there's a good chance this headlines night one. And I think it's not impossible. Like, it's not impossible they could do the three-way, but the fact they're doing all this stuff with Drew and Jacob Fatu, like, you still have that to settle itself. Could Drew end up with Jacob Fatu and he's kind of out of the title picture? Yeah, I think that could happen, because Cody Randy is probably the biggest match of these available figures that you have.
I just feel the storytelling was a bit cleaner, you know, having Drew and Jacob with already an established feud going on, and then Cody and Orton being able to play off all the history that they have, along with like
because Jacob has nothing at the moment, if not for Drew or Like what, they teased something with him and Sammy, but I don't see that as a Mania.
Oh yeah, Sammy's out there too.
Sammy too is kind of just I don't know what Sammy does at Mania at this point.
But I think that, to me, if they want to build Cody and Orton, it's not necessarily the tease that Orton is turning, but the tease that Cody could be turning that I would love to see them explore. You know, the idea that one of these two could be turning, we don't exactly know who. And I'm sure the crowd would prefer Cody.
Yeah. You know, if that is the outcome on Friday, and I'm with you, I see that being the outcome, and we get to Cody and Randy. It's what Paul Heyman had said this week. If you heard him on that Busted Open interview, and he was talking about like the fact that he's so adamant about wanting to know what are our plans for Mania in Saudi Arabia, because if we know where we're going for Saudi Arabia, that will make this year's WrestleMania so much easier to book. And if we go back, if a year ago they knew we want to do Cody and Drew next year, then you're not doing all these Cody Drew matches at WrestlePalooza and on TV. That's the only, I feel that's the only reason people were against Drew and Cody, was the fact it's been done so many times at this point. They did that Claymore angle to take Cody out for Street Fighter in like August last year. Like, they've been tied together for so long. I think that's the only mark against Drew, a guy that everything else, I think he's done a great job in. And it was just, I think, some fatigue on this program. And that's why Cody Randy feels like the superior option to go in.
Orton is also a much bigger, you could argue, mainstream name than Drew McIntyre is. Somebody that like people would recognize from memes, and that, you know, he's just got a bit more cachet. And this is, to me, I think, a regime that really relies on that sort of like star power in order to headline one of these nights. Yeah, they like all of this. And again, if no matter what happens, even whether or not Cody wins the title or he's probably going to be entering into the WrestleMania main.
There's no way Cody's not in any equation you come up with. Cody's in this match.
Yep.
And I just don't see them booking this match on Friday for him to come up short yet again.
But all of it really just kind of screams of disorganization.
Yes.
In particular with this main event. You know,
wait, this card has changed around. Just like I got a semblance of a card right before the Rumble. Like, there have been changes, and this match being one of them.
And this year, they don't even have Dwayne Johnson to blame. Okay, they have nobody to blame.
No, Dwayne's in the clear on
they
this.
They don't have Travis Scott to blame. You know, like it's you guys that have really kind of fumbled all of this, and your lack of planning up until this point.
And if this is all reactive to the tickets, like, again, I don't think that's a symptom of the card, like your ticket sales. I just think that's a lot of bigger factors than the card itself. But for whatever reason, they've this has certainly felt like a more erratic, other than Punk and Reigns, that, you know, there are several matches that have stayed together for like the plans that like I had heard about, like Liv and Vicaire and Jade and Rhea. So I mean, there are some that they have stuck with, but like, yeah, there has been changes as well.
So, you know, news coming out of this chamber. I mean, you finally, I would assume this to be the actual payoff to the Best Man angle, unless there's another decoy guy.
No, I think that was it. I think
Rollins
that's
a decoy for somebody else.
Yeah.
No, Chris Jericho is the Masked Man.
I don't see that one happening. Last I checked, he's still on that AEW roster page, which Danhausen was not as of yesterday. He was pulled down, so kind of gave it away there.
Logan Paul getting 3 eliminations. I feel like we can assume that was probably just like Bronson Reed's spot directly.
I think he completely inherited Bronson Reed's spot in this match. Bronson was going to be the big monster of this match, and then Rollins would cost him. And you would have thought like Rollins facing Bronson probably would have been the direction for Mania. I don't know if Rollins and Logan is the direction. It might end up being someone else, but we will see. That's all I can say.
Brock Lesnar.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't have the confirmation
how should I
on
read
it.
into that pause?
No. Well, I mean, it's kind of like Brock's doing the open challenge, so it's sort of like being set up a bit differently, right? So, they've kind of got their plan for Brock to keep going.
What did you think about the Men's Chamber match?
I was kind of disappointed with it. Like, I know people, like, it had all these run-ins and stuff, and I didn't mind all the run-ins because they all had purposes for them, and they're setting up bigger stuff. I just felt it not to have it to me didn't didn't accelerate into that next gear at any point. I never felt the crowd was like red hot for one particular guy to win. I think the Orton thing got a mild surprise reaction because I think most were feeling Cody would win, but they're obviously going this direction. I was a little disappointed with it, but the angles I think came off well with Rollins and with Drew as well. And I think at the end of it, with Orton winning it, I imagine people came away from it satisfied.
Yeah.
But it was, I did not think it was a great chamber match.
I thought it delivered in terms of like result and like surprise, you know, because I feel like Orton was a bit of an underdog pick, although probably just number 2 next to Cody. And also they gave you that masked man reveal. But I was expecting a whole lot more for perhaps Javon Evans and Trick Williams coming out of it. Even LA Knight, who, I mean,
yeah,
you know, probably wasn't
even take out the botch. It's not like he was handled with any kind of care in this match. I don't know what this guy is doing at Mania. Like, it doesn't feel like he's still involved. He's kind of feuding with the Vision, but like, he got tsunamied by Bronson, who's out of the picture. Like, I don't know what his direction is at this point. Nothing was set up here, so I don't know. Like, every year you're going to have some people who are just odd men out, and he feels more towards that stage rather than some kind of notable match for the show. It wasn't a great night for him.
Yeah. So I would say both chamber matches, perhaps, you know, like, I don't think they were bad matches, but not necessarily the type of standout matches that I think you'd want to be talking about for a show labeled Elimination Chamber.
No, I'd actually recommend the women's over the men's. The men's had the storyline angles attached to it that were significant, and that is for something. But yeah, Punk and Balor was my match of the show, but I definitely don't go anywhere above like thumbs in the middle for the show. I found it to be a pretty basic show.
I to me, not a dissatisfying show, and I don't think anywhere near like the conversation of like worst show or anything like that. But you're only delivering 4 matches. All 4 matches have to be like I think pretty blow away. They were satisfying, but I don't know. Well, other than Punk and Balor, I don't know if anything was necessarily even in that conversation.
All right, well, those are our thoughts on the show. We are going to get some feedback here, and if anyone has some super chats, you're more than welcome to chime in.
Yeah, we have a few YouTube members chats where if you could become a member, of course, on our Patreon, which we would always recommend, but you can also subscribe through YouTube memberships if that is your preferred platform. And so those members get a super chat every single month, including Jake from the Windy City, who says, I kept using my ESPN and Disney Plus apps on my computer for an hour, and it kept crashing every 20 minutes or so. So I had to switch to my VPN and Netflix, and it worked better. Surprised you weren't at the show, Jake, but I mean, with ticket prices, I suppose I could.
NordVPN.com/postwrestling. It's like you're right there in Chicago.
That is correct. And let's go to Andy B, who says, what do you guys think Io does for Mania? Would you be tempted to get the belt on her and pivot to Io versus Rhea?
After all this time they put in with Jade, no, I don't see them flipping that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Again, that would just be so, disappointing to do so quickly. Now, for the better match, yes.
Of course. Yeah, it's the better match, but that to me feel like why would you have done all this at this point? And Io, it's not like they've even like Cody getting into this match. Like, the whole show has been built around Cody. Like, you can see this coming. Io has not been positioned anywhere near this. Like,
she's positioned closer to Julia than she is to Jade. Of course, they can change their mind, but there's already enough like disorganization that I think is being signaled about this show. I don't think they need to fuck up like the women's division like that either. I think
you could see Jade Io something with the Kabuki Warriors. If it's one of them, if it's it's awkward. She's kind of in another role where it doesn't feel like she's going to be in a super big match, but we'll see. I would hope that because she's going to up the quality of whatever show she is on. You hope she's in something that can at least get 12, 13 minutes on the show.
How about the triple threat idea?
Oh, with Rhea, it certainly would help that match a lot to have Io in there. I just don't know how you necessarily get there. I would have. They made it so concrete like this.
If they wanted to do that, Io should have been in this match, and there should have been some.
There should have been some controversy, or or you do something in the women's rumble. Like she was not a factor in either of these matches. So I just don't know how you would get there. And I think they really like the idea of Jade and Rhea. Like they have been doing these like backstage things with Jade and Rhea for months. I feel they're going to stick to that as a singles, but yeah, it's certainly a better match if Io's involved. But I don't know how you would get there.
All right, let's go to forum.postwrestling.com, where all of our patrons can leave feedback to every one of these shows that we do Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and more over at postwrestling and postwrestlingcafe.com.
First one is Dave, who writes, on Monday I left feedback that I eventually deleted, stating that WWE is just not an engaging enough product for me anymore to follow weekly. But now I'm going to stand on that and say it again. Thankful that my cable provider carries ESPN Unlimited, because I can't fathom dishing $30 out for a pay-per-view event with 4 matches and several 5+ minute long commercial breaks. We will see what they do with Rollins, but I think at this stage of his career, he isn't a believable heel, so turning him back to feud with the Vision was an easy layup they got right. I hope they continue to spotlight Kiana James and move her up the card as she improves. They need some new faces in the women's main event scene. I thoroughly enjoyed the Danhausen debut. WWE is a character-first company that doesn't pride itself on high-quality matches weekly, so a below-average comedy wrestler with a goofy, over-the-top gimmick and massive merch-moving powers is right up their alley. I don't know what his ceiling is besides being another R-Truth and Joe Hendry type, but I wish him well. His character never meshed well with the AEW audience.
In terms of presentation,
I'll say this, he was way more over in AEW for his appearances, and when he showed up.
For those particular crowds who maybe compared to the crowd that they had tonight, maybe looked at Danhausen more as a recognizable star. I didn't think there was anything wrong with the dancers accompanying him. The music I think sounds great.
Yeah.
All of that is great, but it was just a setup that I think just maybe over promised something unintentionally perhaps. Let's go to Brian in New Jersey, who says, this was my first time that I was able to watch a PLE live in the ESPN/international Netflix era. And while I appreciate at least one break, getting breaks like this between every match alongside such lengthy entrances isn't conducive for an engaging wrestling event. I'm more used to how WWE pay-per-views were before this and how AEW pay-per-views have been all this time. That said, I was pretty entertained. I hope Knight doesn't get another stern talking to from Uncle Paul. I thought Finn Balor versus Punk was very good, and I thought the 2 chamber matches were solid, with the men's chamber having a cool and surprising finish, alongside them finally pulling the trigger on Rollins' reveal. The other reveal of the night. Aside from the box reveal not making a lick of sense given all the dancers and the music. I don't I think we can assume Danhausen has some sort of
were all the dancers traveling throughout the country as well in the box?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I can assume Danhausen has some sort of netherworld powers.
Okay.
So which are very valid in this universe. I felt Danhausen's first segment overall was pretty mild. AEW fans knew him, and there were people within AEW that understood his humor, even if they didn't do much with him beyond the team with Hook. We'll see if WWE gets him, but this crowd didn't sound like they did. Well, they were only reacting based on name, and they certainly didn't react to him like they were a big star. Once they get into the gimmick, I feel like he has a strong chance, but we'll see. I hope he makes his sacks of money and finally gets his blimp, but I'm left to believe his ultimate landing spot is AAA, if not back on the indies. Also, Paige and Starks were given NXT runs. Powerhouse Keys has only had the Rumble appearance and a podcast appearance, but it's Danhausen who is off to the races on the main roster. And that's more of a jokey question, since the box has been teased for 2 weeks and Danhausen was just removed from AEW. Would this be considered contract tampering?
No. They never used him. They never promoted him. It's not going to be any kind of issue. I will say this, that I know there's been generally no on-screen follow-up with Powerhouse Keys. I do think those podcast clips have been really good that they have shown. I don't know how many people went and listened to the podcast, but I think those clips, it's that to me is doing a lot more for him than if he were just on TV and they didn't have much of a solid idea for him. I don't know if he's going to be figured into anything before Mania. It does feel like they jumped the gun debuting him, but I do like the fact that they have extended. They've been playing those clips now for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, but I mean, I think even that will just maybe reheat him a little bit, and if they continue to not do anything with him, people will just forget about that too, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see. Your turn.
Jeremy in Texas. I thought the show moved at a snail's pace. Everyone needing to eye everyone while entering the chamber. Yeah, that got a little bit too cumbersome with like every single person had to go up to each pod and look at each other. Predictable finishes and the reel of Danhausen as the newest addition to the SmackDown backstage dorks. But the last 5 minutes of the show was very good and may have saved it. The Seth reveal as the Masked Man and Cody falling short again were great twists. While I expect Cody to somehow get added to the title match, there is at least something to build the next 7 weeks. There is a lot of time between now and Mania. WWE Creative has been dragged through the mud of late. Can they put together a quality WrestleMania, or will this build feel like the first 95% of the show tonight? Predictable and boring. Well, now they start the real serious build toward Mania. You've got the top 4 matches all kind of, well, I guess after Friday and where this whole Cody deal is going. Like, we should know at least most of the key matches, I would say, by the end of this week, and you basically know all the title directions.
Yeah, we have some pieces that are out there, but everything can change even in the next few weeks. Let's go to Andy B, who says, I enjoyed the entire presentation of Punk Balor right from the moment Sirius hit. Enjoyed AJ Becky for the most part as well. I thought Becky's near fall on AJ after knocking out the ref was well laid out and a good subversion of the trope. I don't know if I'm that excited about some of the directions for Mania, though. Do you guys think the SmackDown title match ends up being a 4-way or just straight up Cody versus Orton? Would you guys care for either scenario? We kind of discussed that.
Yeah, I don't see the 4-way direction, even though you can look at the TV and see it as that being a potential outcome. I don't see it ending up that way.
I just feel like the storytelling, even though you could include more guys, I think the storytelling is stronger when it's a one-on-one feud. And Cody and Orton have so much history to go into that they didn't the last time they faced each other.
And they have the time to really go into that. It's not like they just have 3 weeks till the next pay-per-view and they're just rushing that. Like, you could do a really big build here. Like the fact that Randy and Cody had that 3-way at WrestleMania with Ted DiBiase Jr., who I don't think will be brought up in any of this buildup. But, there again, as you mentioned, there's all this history that they can lean on. And
so do you think one of them turns heel before WrestleMania? Or do they build this as double baby with the tease that somebody could turn coming out of?
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. I don't think there's a reason for a Randy turn at this point, but it is going to be interesting, like how the crowds react in the lead up to this. Like, I think Randy's going to be like the favorite for a lot of people in this program.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, will they boo like Cody the way like Rock Hogan, reaction would have taken place? Like, something tells me like in the modern era with
it's very
WrestleMania
unlikely
crowd, it's probably not likely. So will they steer the audience toward a certain direction to make you want to cheer for one over the other?
The last one here is from a Visionary 94. It just got out of the United Center for the Elimination Chamber. The crowd was pretty hot, but honestly, I thought they would be a little louder and more engaged for not CM Punk and AJ Lee. I guess he means for others. I think every match delivered, and the Seth return at the end of the night was a great surprise. Match of the night for me was Punk and Balor, just a great showcase and in-ring storytelling from 2 main event guys. The biggest surprise was Raquel. She improved tremendously over the past year and won the crowd over very strong. She looked very good in that match. I agree. Everyone was,
and again, seems to be poised for something big coming up.
Yeah. I don't know if it works out for Mania, but she has definitely improved quite a bit in this last year. Like, just a lot of her, the moves she's doing, the mannerisms. I agree. Everyone was disappointed when Raquel got eliminated. Overall, an enjoyable show, but I wish we got another match or two considering the downtime and ticket prices. Also, the Danhausen reveal did not land well in the arena. So there you go. That's someone from tonight's show at the United Center in Chicago. So,
in your opinion, should they do these? Should they have at least one more match? Do you think people would be a bit more satisfied?
I think if you had 4 killer matches, I don't think you would have had those complaints. I just don't think of the 4 matches you got. I really, really enjoyed Punk and Balor, but I could certainly see being somewhat let down by the chamber matches. We've seen cards that can have 6 or 7 matches and it's still going to have that reaction. I think it's more so the quality of the matches, because it's not like this is a new format for WWE. And typically these shorter shows have been generally pretty good. I just didn't think this one, I can understand that. And as ticket prices go up, so are the expectations. And every fan has that right to say, hey, I'm paying all this money. I'm going to have a higher standard of the entertainment you're providing me. So I think that's a very fair complaint to have.
It's at the point now where I feel like to satisfy like that criticism that I'm paying so much money only for X amount of matches, despite the fact that they're lengthy matches, I don't think it would hurt them to simply add one more match. In fact, it would probably offer them opportunity to sell even more commercial time, right? So I just wonder if it's something they would consider.
Pull out dude wipes.
That's a great one.
All right, everyone. Well, we are going to sign off. But before we go, you know what keeps the engine ticking here? Well, it's you folks. You are our TAM. And you can all engage with the Post Wrestling Cafe. PostWrestlingCafe.com, $8 a month gets you all of the additional shows that we put out. And look at this. Fresh off the presses, our March 2026 menu. We are going to be putting out 2 editions of Rewind Away. We are chatting WWF Insurrection 2002, not to be mistaken with January 6th. We are going to be talking about the UK only pay-per-view featuring the Raw brand. So as I was looking at these notes today, Way, they sold this show out in record time in November before the brand split. And then come the time of this show, no Rock, no Hogan, but you do get the Raw brand. You get Austin, you get Undertaker. So there's that, and you get Sean Stasiak. So this is also the show that was part of the tour that included the plane ride from hell on the way back from this UK tour. So I am sure we are going to be discussing the events that took place after this show and all of the fallout, which included the firings of Scott Hall, Kurt Hennig, and this show was the backdrop for that horrible event in WWF's history as well. So that's coming up this month.
A show that happens to be on at least international Netflix. I don't know if it's available.
I couldn't believe this was up there.
Yeah.
They've got every Insurrection show on Netflix. I can't believe it. So yes, a first time watching for me of this show. So that's coming up. We're also going to be doing AWA's Super Sunday card from 1983 featuring Hulk Hogan against Nick Bockwinkel. This was actually a really, really big show for the AWA. They were red hot in 1983. This is months before Hogan would go to the WWF at the end of 83. So it's going to be a really interesting show to look back on, and we don't do a whole lot of AWA, so I'm excited to talk about a different era, a different company for Rewind Away this coming month. Plus, it has been so long, and something that we don't do enough of, and that is talk. Myself and Way are going to sit down. Typically, we do these in person, so maybe, Way, we will have to see each other to do this show. I look forward to it. We sit back, we get blackout drunk, and then we hit record.
We get blackout drunk on black coffee. Pretty much, which I think
true.
makes for better podcast content, really.
Sometimes with a little sugar, too, we get a little wild.
No.
Yeah.
You mean actual sugar?
Yes.
Please, let's just clarify.
Okay. There's no okay. Yeah. There's no cocaine.
We're very boring people
on the cafe, folks. You guys would be very sick of us if you hung out with us. Plus, we have got the New Japan Cup Finals will be reviewed this month by Karen and Bruce. They just put up a show this weekend covering New Beginning USA, and we'll also do shows on UFC 326. I'm getting together with Eric Marcotte next week for that show. TNA Sacrifice, MCU later, welcomes back Season 2 of Daredevil.
Yeah, The Man Without Fear. So a lot of interest. I haven't even caught up on the first one yet. Have you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did?
I watched the whole first season. Yeah.
Wow. Maybe future.
I'm ahead of you.
Maybe guest hosting opportunity here.
Yeah, Kingpin Trump.
Amazing.
Season
okay.
1. So all of that can be yours. PostWrestlingCafe.com. You sign up, you get 30 days of access, and then if you're so inclined, you can stay on board. If you're a little hesitant, you can also sign up. If you've never signed up before, you can get a 7-day free trial and sample some of the work we're doing. Daily audio news updates. XL editions of Rewind to Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. Like we're really great, and it's to your benefit to consume as much of us as you humanly can. Like you just wake up and like clockwork, we're there in your ears.
Yeah, WrestleMania week is approaching, so John and I are sort of in the stages of planning all of our coverage.
We're going live on Monday, straight through till Sunday night. No stopping.
It was just one long stream. Yeah,
just for talking, Coke, coffee.
Okay.
All right. That's it. I'm tired. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Collision Course tonight with Kate from Montreal and Bruce Lord, and we'll be back on Monday, right after Raw, here on the Post Wrestling YouTube channel. If you have not hit subscribe, you're out of your mind. If you hit subscribe, it'll blow your mind what Way is done, what'll happen when you hit that button. Do it. Incredible. Good night.